next up on my list here, I have Jonathan Cooper. Now, Cooper plays guard. He tried to play center, not with much success. But this dude is a former first-round draft pick, drafted 7th overall by the Arizona Cardinals back in 2013. He's had a rough go in the pros. He was traded to the Pats in 2016, released by the Pats, picked up by the Cleveland Browns, man. So that's a low. And released Browns, but then he gets picked up by the Cowboys. And what did you think about the way Jonathan Cooper played this year in the 13 games he started at guard?
Man, realistically, he did the same thing as the rest of the line. Like, it took him a while to mesh. And while I was frustrated with him at times, I was frustrated with Smith on the left side as well. I was mad at everybody on the O-line at times because they just weren't meshing. So I can't blame Cooper for all the issues they were having. Honestly, I was thoroughly impressed with the way Cooper improved throughout the season and fit in well. And we all saw that. The Cowboys they had a stellar line. Their line figured it out at the end of the season for probably the last 6 games. So I really thought Cooper proved himself near the end of the last half of the season, I should say.
Yeah, I'm with you on the early struggles of not only Jonathan Cooper, but the offensive line as an entire unit. But in my not so humble opinion, I think that a lot of the struggles can be pinned on the indecisiveness of the coaching staff by basically just playing musical chairs with Chaz Green and Cooper at the left guard spot. And this went on from training camp up into a few games into the regular season. So for me, it clearly ruined Chaz Green's confidence as both a tackle and a guard. But that does say something for a player that we're talking about like Jonathan Cooper, because he, unlike Green, was able to bounce back and find some consistency with the rest of that offensive line. With all that being said, with Jonathan Cooper, struggling towards the beginning of the season, but in my opinion, getting better and better throughout the season, how big of a priority should it be for the Cowboys to bring this guy back as the starting left guard?
Well, my question to you, Phil, is this. Can we afford to let him go after the line started meshing well and try to bring in another one? Can we afford to take the time to watch them develop again? What's your thoughts?
I know this. The Cowboys' approach to the draft has been the same for the last few years. What they like to do is they like to sign a few budget free agents to cover their bases. That way they don't have this one big glaring need in the draft. So I think a player like Jonathan Cooper, if you can get him for the veteran minimum, you plug him in right away. That way you're not, backed into a corner having to draft O-line in the early rounds of the draft. So I think he's worth a shot. But if he's going to want, a significant pay raise off of just half a season and a good half of a season, in my opinion, I think we might have to look elsewhere.
Totally agree. To see him back there, but the price has to be right, and he's got to be reasonable with that. Otherwise, the Cowboys will figure it out. I just, as a fan, don't want to see them have to go through another rebuild with the line and try to get everybody put back together. I would rather us just start off running at the beginning of the season. So that's why I would like Cooper there. I felt like he fit in really well. But yes, you're exactly right. He needs to have the common sense and be reasonable with the fact that, vet minimum maybe would probably be reasonable.